We're following two major stories tonight. Putin's war in Ukraine, brought on by the weakness of the Democrats' occupation of the Oval Office through Joe Biden. We'll get you the latest from Ukraine in mere moments. But first, Biden's State of Disunion address. The Salcedo show does what the biased press refuses to do in tonight's preamble. Now, if you've watched any left-wing news coverage today, chances are you heard all the Biden talking points as if he'd actually accomplished them. Did you hear? Biden says he's going to cure cancer. But that's par for the course. When a Republican is in office, the left-wing press goes into fact-checker mode after major speeches. Now, they forget the practice when leftists are in the Oval Office. So naturally, if you want a Democrat fact-checked, you have to come to Newsmax or conservative talk radio. You see, we are equal time. Last night, Joe Biden made this false statement about the Trump tax cuts.
Unlike the $2 trillion tax cut passed in the previous administration that benefited the top 1% of Americans, the American Rescue Plan helped working people and left no one behind.
No wonder Chuck Schumer applauded at that. It's fake news. Democrat talking points proven to be a lie by none other than the New York Times. Wait, isn't New York allegedly Schumer's hometown? Doesn't he read the so-called paper of record? After evaluating the Trump Republican tax cuts, even the New York Times was forced to admit, quote, face it, you got a tax cut. Studies consistently find that the 2017 law cut taxes for most Americans. Now, only in Biden's ever-decreasing mind does most Americans equal the top 1%. There was some more fact-checking to be done. Here's what Biden had to say about the soaring gas prices and how Putin's war chest is supposedly diminished to nothing under European-led sanctions.
Together, along with our allies, we are right now enforcing powerful economic sanctions. We're cutting off Russia's largest banks in the international financial system, preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble, making Putin's $630 billion war fund worthless. Tonight, I can announce the United States has worked with 30 other countries to release 60 million barrels of oil from reserves around the world. These steps will help blunt gas prices here at home.
Well, that's a good story, bro. But it turns out to be another lie. Our very own Eric Bolling dismantling the occupier of the Oval Office and his attempted snow job of the suffering American people.
Very quickly, he talked about Putin, he talked about Ukraine, he talked about the ruble falling apart. He said a $630 billion war fund was worthless. He's wrong. It's down 35%. It's still worth $400 billion. He talked about releasing 30 million barrels of oil from the SPR. That's about a day and a half's worth. It has a zero effect. In fact, while he was saying that, oil was rallying on the global markets. It's up $5 a barrel during that speech, up $5 from where it closed, $9 a barrel higher today.
Wow! Did you catch that? Increase of $5 a barrel while Joe Biden was yapping his flap. Why? Because world oil markets heard that Joe Biden will do nothing, including unleashing American energy production to relieve your pain at the pump. Biden and his Democrats' war on American energy producers, coupled with Putin's war on Ukraine, are conspiring to drive oil prices over $110 a barrel. Now, that hurts you. That hurts your family. It hurts Joe Biden's voters and their families as well. The only truth that sprung up last night was from Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. She reminded the country and Joe Biden of the 13 service members who needlessly lost their lives in Biden's botched pullout of Afghanistan.
Many of the world's fittest and best trained warriors in the world, never the same. Headaches, numbness, dizziness. A cancer that would put them in a flag-draped coffin. I know. One of those soldiers was my son, Major Beau Biden.
Why all the groans, Democrats? You don't like being reminded of your handiwork? Or you just don't like the American people being reminded? And what was up with Lindsey Graham there, mouthing the words, shut up? The senator is usually such a stalwart supporter of the United States military. Now, we asked him to come on tonight so we could ask him about that, but his staff said he wasn't available. The senator is welcome here anytime, especially to talk about saving the United States military. Now, aside from the lies, there was all kinds of creepy in last night's State of the Disunion address. For example, what the hell was this from Nancy Pelosi?
Our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan have faced many dangers, one being stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. Many of you have been there. I've been in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan over 40 times.
Talk about the cat who ate the canary. What kind of person smiles and rubs their hands together in joy upon hearing about the suffering of American troops from burn pits and cancer? Nancy Pelosi, the leader of left-wing extremists, that's who. Did anyone notice how Joe Biden tried to erase years of the Democrats' defund the police activities in one meaningless speech? It turns out the anti-American left wasn't going to let him get away with trying to lie about Democrats suddenly being pro-cop.
We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police. Fund them.
We can't police away homelessness, poverty, or mental health crisis in our country.
And while I'm thinking about it, how uneasy were you last night knowing that Biden is the guy with his finger on the button when he said this?
But let me be clear. Our forces are not engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine. Our forces are not going to Europe to fight Ukraine, but to defend our NATO allies in the event that Putin decides to keep moving west.
That's right. Biden wanted to assure the American people that our soldiers wouldn't be fighting Ukraine. Well, I should hope not. They're our allies. There's a lot of confusion from this guy with access to the nuclear football. Here he is bringing Iran into the discussion in the Russia-Ukraine war.
This is the real test, and it's going to take time. So let us continue to draw inspiration from the iron will of the Ukrainian people. To our fellow Ukrainian Americans who forged the deep bond that connects our two nations, we stand with you. We stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people.
Newsflash, Biden, the Iranian government already loves Putin. Man, one brain fart from this guy, and we could end up nuking England or Switzerland. Then there was this on the China virus in the border.
You can't build a wall high enough to keep out a vaccine. The vaccine can stop the spread of these diseases.
Yeah, I got nothing. The never-Trumpers and those who vote for socialists really did team up to do a number on this country, didn't they? Biden claims America is unified and strong, and that's another lie. And everyone within the sound of my voice knows it. So here's the truth from your liberty-loving Latino. This country is spiraling down the toilet bowl, and fast. We are not unified, we are not strong, and we are not safe. And it's all courtesy of Joe Biden and his Democrats. Now, I'd like to suggest that you vote for Republicans, but since they're no longer the party of conservatism, I can't do that. So I'm appealing to all of you. Vote your values, because our political enemies, they're voting their values. Those who hate the cops, those who love high gas prices, those who love empty store shelves, those who love outrageous prices, those who love abandoning Americans in Afghanistan, those who love illegal immigration in an out-of-control pandemic, they're all voting Democrat. If those are not your values, you better find someone who will support saving this country and then vote their way.